Okay, I'm just not even gonna fake it. I'm going to refer to my notes because I need to not forget the first things I'm gonna tell you on this channel. Hi, I'm Andie. Approaching your life as an adventure isn't for 22-year-olds and it's not for the ultra rich. If you're a dreamer at heart like me, whose circumstances include, I'm gonna knock myself out, include more than your fair share of adulting, this channel is for you. One Daring Adventure is for noticing beauty, telling the truth about the hard stuff, and daring to live anyway. Sometime I'm gonna have that memorized, but I don't have it memorized yet, even though those are very important things to me. And we're gonna do these things here at this channel, even when the conditions aren't ideal. Those are the things I really want to tell you. Also, I'm a mom of 5. I'm a creative, and I've spent a lot of time figuring out how to like being alive despite living in a very intense life. Now, this is not intense because I always make sure to set up my living room, but the rest of the living room is intense. This little space is not so intense. I live in Portugal. A lot of that is because I was following a 20-year dream. And right now I'm gonna check and see if this is actually recording and actually hearing me without sounding like I'm in a tin can. Just a moment. Okay, I am back. I really needed an emotional support cup of tea. So anyways, I'm really glad that you're here. The reason that I am here and why I'm bothering to show up on the internet is because I think there's a lot of women like me in their 40s who maybe aren't quite sure if you like your life anymore. Maybe you haven't had time to think about it because you've been really busy taking care of everyone. Maybe you've even been taking care of yourself by doing that like long laundry list of things that they tell you to do for perimenopause, like eat like 500 bazillion grams of protein and collagen and definitely lift weights. I like lifting weights, but I haven't done it in a long time. Anyway, and you know, I don't know. You know what it's like, because if you're gonna stick around here, you're probably in my age range, but not necessarily. Maybe you're just trying to see what's coming. Anyway, I'm here because I had some things happen in my life earlier than many people who are in my age range that really brought life into perspective for me. And that was about, give or take, 10 years ago. And it was stuff, just like tragic stuff happening in my circle. We, almost to the day, 10 years ago, had a friend, had friends who lost their daughter really tragically and suddenly. I, at that point, had friends get diagnosed with cancer. Since that time, I have had my best friend pass away 2 years ago, this month, from cancer. And so about a decade ago, we really began asking ourselves, like, what are we doing with our lives? And also, I think having kids with special needs really sped that up for us, because we realized, like, this is the rest of our lives. These kids, we're going to be parenting them until we're old and gray. They will likely live with us, a couple of them, and things like that. So we really had to grapple with, do we like our lives? If we don't like our lives, how can we change them? How can we realign what our lives are like to be something that actually matches what we care about instead of just sort of going along mindlessly. In America, I think it's really easy, at least it was for me, to get sucked into consumerism and sort of that bigger, better, faster, get nicer stuff train. And we did this amazing course a decade ago. Yay for digital products. Part of the reason I make digital products is because about a decade ago, 2 digital products completely transformed my life. But we did a sort of a lifestyle audit through a course that we downloaded from a creator that we liked. And we realized, we're spending our money and our time on things that actually don't fulfill us and maybe just are in line with what we felt like was expected, like buying a home in a nicer neighborhood and getting a nicer car and getting cuter clothes and a better photographer for our family pictures, which I don't regret that. That is what I don't regret, is really good family pictures. But we were just sort of mindlessly going along, as it's very easy to do. And we realized that we wanted to be having more adventure in our lives. We, despite having 5 kids, really wanted to travel abroad. And so honestly, what I really wanted was that long-term dream to move abroad. But I thought there's no way that's possible in my life, especially with kids with special needs, especially with the number of kids that we had. So, here I am in Portugal, so you'll get to hear all about that on this channel. But at that point, what we were thinking was just like, well, if we can't live abroad, like I had always hoped, maybe at least we can travel abroad. And so one of those courses was like a travel hacking course. If you're not familiar with the term, it just means like using points to elevate your travel or get free travel or like lower price travel. So I took that course and not only learned how to use points from credit cards, but we also learned how to just find the best tickets. And we bought tickets to China for our first international trip. So our lives began to shift in early 2016, 10 years ago now, and I don't regret it. There were a lot of bumps, lots and lots, and I want to be real about that here in this place. So many times what we had thought came crashing down. However, I still don't regret it because what we did was really consider, like, what do we value? What do we want for our lives? What do we want for our kids? It was sort of like a mission statement type of activity with really deep, thoughtful questions and conversations that my husband and I had. And doing that, along with the travel course, changed the course of our lives. We began to travel much more because we downsized and saved money. And I just want to be here because we're not footloose and fancy free. We have a lot of responsibilities. We have a lot of high needs in our family. Our lives are very intense. We've experienced grief. We have parents who are aging, and that doesn't have to stop you from enjoying your life. And I think that we were a bit ahead of the curve of just sort of grappling with some of those middle of your life types of considerations, like, what am I doing? Do I want to get to my deathbed and have regrets? And so the reason that I'm showing up here on One Daring Adventure is to just encourage you to be asking those questions, encouraging you that your life doesn't have to be free of responsibility or complication. You don't have to be free of the constraints of adulthood to live a life that is beautiful and enjoyable. Am I exhausted? Frequently, yes. Do I still worry about many things? Yes. But I also really focus on looking wherever I can to find beauty and to create it in my life, to understand who I am and to live in alignment with that instead of trying to live in alignment with what other people have set out and said is a fulfilling life or is success. So that's the reason that I want to be here. I want to encourage you to feel alive. And if you don't know what makes you feel alive, I want you to take some time to do that, because what's the point if you don't enjoy your life and enjoy being alive? It's a gift to be alive. And the reason that that's so important to me is because I did have a friend, two friends actually, pass away from cancer. So I want to keep beating the drum of you don't have to uproot your whole life like we did and move abroad, but you do need to figure out how to live in a way that feels fulfilling to you. There are so many people who have figured out how to like being alive, even despite circumstances like having cancer. I think one of the most moving moments in a conversation that I had with my best friend, Gretchen, a few months before she died, was when she said, I like being alive. She had learned to enjoy just the simple beauty around her. She had learned what she really liked. She said, like, I like vanilla lattes, so I drink them and I like it, you know? She just had this beautiful spirit about her. And so you'll hear me talk about her a lot here because she taught me a lot. And actually, if hearing more about how to like being alive from somebody who had lived with cancer for 6 years and had a lot of excuses for why she maybe would have just felt sorrowful and upset all the time. If you'd like to hear from a person like that, I've written a book about our last conversation. It was actually an interview about living and about what she had learned about living and what was important during her years with cancer and just sort of having a heavy cloud hanging over her life. So that's background noises from living in a family of 7 people. That's a book that I wrote called BENEDICTION, and it's not a book about dying, it's a book about living. And it's also not really a sad book, but it's a book that will bring things into perspective. It's a quick read. I think it's 54 pages and it has photos. So if that sounds interesting to you, it's down in my description. But I think that more than anything else I've written, this exploration of meaning with Gretchen is probably what would sum up best why I am here and what I hope that you'll join me for at One Daring Adventure. So I'm very glad that you're here and nice to meet you if I've never met you before.